Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Cartooning, the show where we take a look at cartoon characters from yesterday as well as today, learn a little bit about their history and the artists behind them, and then learn to draw them together. Our hearts are going to grow 2 sizes today as we learned about the iconic holiday grumpster, the Grinch. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a 1966 television Christmas special based on the 1957 children's book by Theodore Geisel, otherwise known as Dr. Seuss. The story is about the grumpy old Grinch trying to steal Christmas from the friendly Whos of Whoville. Due to the success of A Charlie Brown Christmas the year previous, iconic animator Chuck Jones came to Dr. Seuss wanting to adapt one of his works for a TV holiday special. Dr. Seuss and Chuck Jones worked together once before while producing animated training films for the armed services during World War II. Although initially reluctant to turn one of his books into a television show, Dr. Seuss agreed, and production on How the Grinch Stole Christmas began. The special was produced by a division of MGM Studios called Cat in the Hat Productions, and was directed by Chuck Jones himself. Chuck Jones directed Academy Award-winning animated shorts like The Dot and the Line, and the Bugs Bunny masterpiece, What's Opera Doc? It took 14 months, over 13,000 drawings and animation cells, 250 background paintings, and hours of voice and music recording to produce. Legendary character actor Boris Karloff provided narration, as well as the voice of the Grinch. An acclaimed voiceover actress, June Foray, was the voice of Little Cindy Lou Who. In an uncredited role, voice actor and singer Thurl Ravenscroft sang the famous song, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. The deep baritone voice actor is famous as the original voice actor for Tony the Tiger, the mascot of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas became an instant classic that to this day continues to be a must-watch during the holiday season. Okay, let's get started drawing the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Let's take a look at our reference photo. And we're going to be drawing him in the chimney, so we're not even going to be doing a full body. That'll make it a little bit easier. What's really cool, I really like about this Chuck Jones design is, if you'll notice, it's got a real, I always notice this about Chuck Jones art, it's got almost like a fluffiness to it. And you could always tell a Chuck Jones design by how fluffy the character looks. A lot of Chuck Jones cartoons were Bugs Bunny cartoons, so you'll see a lot of really fluffy 1950s and 60s Bugs Bunny cartoons, and this is no different. You'll see there's lots of little jagged edges. Of course, he's covered in fur, and he's got the fur in his hat, so you get that real signature Chuck Jones style. So let's begin with our foundational shapes. Remember to have your paper handy, a pencil that you like, an eraser that you like. We're going to be needing our permanent marker towards the end. And then very simple colors today. We're just going to need red, green, a little bit of blue, and probably some pink, orange, and dark red for the chimney. All right, so let's get started with our Grinch picture. We're going to start with the chimney first. The chimney is going to go right along the edge here. So we're going to start by going up. It's going to go across. And again, what's really interesting about the way that Chuck Jones did the production design based on Dr. Seuss's illustrations, everything is a little bit wonky, everything's a little bit off. So there's just this wonky line right here, and then that goes straight down. So that's the chimney line. So we could just put that right across like that. Clean up that line a little bit. There we go. Okay, and let's put in some of the bricks. We got one there. We got another over here. One coming up from the bottom. One going across the corner. Put one there, and one adjacent to that one. All right. And let's begin with the actual Grinch himself. The top part of his torso and his head are going to be coming out the top of the chimney. So let's sketch on his head shape, which is sort of like this crooked pear shape. Notice the light touch I'm doing with the pencil. Keep that initially for your initial foundational drawings. Keep a light touch because you're going to be erasing a lot of it. So there's his head shape. We're going to be adding on, the face and the hat later on. So that's where it's going to start. All right, and he's got a bag going over his shoulder. So let's just put in where the bag is going to go, and then we'll put in that shoulder. So this is the bag. And then his shoulder is going to go down this way, off the edge of the chimney, then down to his elbow, and then back up to his wrist. And then we're going to create the wrist by putting in another line right here. So now it just looks like his arm is going out and then right back in. Right? And we're just going to put a little circle, or a half circle really, right there. And that's where we're going to be putting in his fluffy wrist afterwards. All right? And what we can do is, let's just extend. You might not have to do this for your drawing, but I'm going to have to extend the edge of the chimney up so it reaches his wrist. Again, that's why you need to keep a light touch with your pencil at first, just in case you need to manipulate some lines. You could easily do it by just erasing it. All right, and then his wrist, or his hand rather, goes out and then it goes inside the chimney. So that's the only part of this hand you're going to see. And then this goes around. Okay. I'm adding in just this little chin section right here. And that'll help us put in his fluffy Santa Claus collar. Just quickly render that in your pencil. And now the other arm is going to go out this way. And he's very angular. The Grinch has lots of crazy angles. It really highlights the almost creepiness of the character. So that arm is going out and then it's going right back down to the other little fluffy part. And then I love these fingers. Look at these creepy fingers. They almost look like insects. So he's sort of like drumming his fingers on the chimney. So let's sketch that in. So we're going to see one finger. Actually, it's going to be the top of the hand, and then the finger goes out and then down and then in. So that's one finger. It's actually going over the edge of the chimney. The other finger goes way up and then down. Make sure you get a nice point at the end of his fingers. Again, highlighting that real creepiness. And then the third finger goes further out and then down. Okay. We're going to skip his face for the moment because there's a lot of character in the face. Let's get the hat in first. It's going to swoop down this way. Sort of like the top portion of the pear is going to be hat. So just, this is where the line's going to cut. We're going to put fluffs in. Notice how I did that? I sort of alternated big fluffs and little fluffs. It gives it a little bit more of a natural look. All right, and then sprouting off the top of the pear shape over here will be the Santa hat. That's going to go way out and then down. Again, it's echoing his body composition, those steep angles, and again, he's got that inherent creepiness to him. So you want that to echo in the character itself. Extend that down a little bit. And instead of like that little like puff ball that Santa Claus has at the end of his hat, he's sort of got a like a tassel. Actually, I'm going to move that in a little bit. I think it needs to go in closer to the face. There, that's much better. Okay, we're going to give him face lines, but it's going to be not like any kind of face lines we ever did before. They're going to sort of contour that pear shape. So we're going to have a line going down this way, and then it's going to make sort of like a little jump like that. And that's where his eyes are going to start. And right where there's this little crease in the line right here, this is where we're going to put his nose. And he's got a very unique shaped nose. It's sort of like a low flat pumpkin shape. So it sort of looks like this. See that? All right. This eye is going to go up this way. So this is the top of his eye that I'm sketching in right here. Sort of goes right underneath the brim of the hat. So you don't have to worry about that too much. And then this is going to be his eyelash. He's making sort of like a sly look on his face. So this is going to be his eyelash. And then it sort of comes out this way. I'm actually going to extend this a little bit further out now. And you know, we might as well just put in the little fluffs on either side. Just putting a little jagged edge gives it a little fluffy look. Again, it's a very Chuck Jones look. Okay, and he's got sort of like, if I show you on the picture, he's got crow's feet. He's got wrinkles in his eyes, and that's what this part is right here. It's half eyelash and half crease. So that's what this is going to be. This is the eye itself and a pupil. Then he's got this smile line, and we're going to use this vertical line as a guide. His smile is going to come down this way towards the smile line, and then as you get closer to it, it's towards the vertical face line, the smile line is going to go further down. So it goes towards the line, and then it makes a steep drop. Again, it's giving him that almost triangular shaped smile. And then this is the other side. So just like this part right here, this is going to be a eyelash going out, creating a eye here. And then the pupil goes right next to the nose. So he's looking off to the side. And then let's just give that vertical face line a little bit of a jagged line, again indicating that he's covered in green fur. And here's some almost like double chins. Again, just a way of accentuating that he's got fur. All right, now that we got that in, let's just finish off the sack over his shoulder. Put some fabric lines in there. Doesn't have to be exactly like the drawing, but that's pretty good. All right. We are just about ready to start inking, so let's get our inking markers out. And I think a fine point will be perfect for today. So let's begin with the thing that sort of comes out at us first, which is actually this little tassel here. It's the thing that's in front of everything else. So we'll start with that tassel first. And you'll notice today when I'm inking, I'm keeping a very light, almost flicky movement with the marker. That'll really accentuate that, that Chuck Jones look where everything looked very spontaneous. And again, the fluffiness of the character. All right, let's do the white brim of the Santa Claus hat. Again, notice how I'm doing some of those bumps bigger than the other. Same thing with those jagged edges. You could do them bigger than the others. And the quicker and flickier you are with the marker, the more spontaneous it will look. That is a skill that comes with time. So if you're not comfortable, you can go slow. That's fine too. There's sometimes when I still go slow when I'm trying to get something perfect. All right, that's one of the eyelashes, and this is the top eye line. But what's good about the Grinch is you can sort of hide mistakes by being sketchy with your inking, which isn't something we normally do when we ink. We normally have a nice smooth line when we ink. But that's not 100% necessary with a character like the Grinch, who is nothing but jagged lines and bumps. Okay. Before we do the collar, let's do this hand, arm, and the bag. Oh, and while we're at it, let's put in that little fluffy, half jagged little puffball on his wrist. So this is the bag. And let's put in the chimney. But before we do this side, we'll do that hand. But let's do this line there, and we can put in the puffy collar, that one part of the hand that's going to be coming up from underneath the chimney. Okay, let's do the individual bricks. And some more of these lines on the bag. Okay, I think we are ready to erase our pencil lines, and then we'll see if we need to ink anything after that. So take a little bit of time, erase those pencil lines. Okay, looking at the character, it looks pretty good. So we're going to start coloring in some of our Grinch. Now, of course, the Grinch is very famously covered in green fur. So let's use a nice light green and take your time and color in everything that should be green. That should be his face, his hand here, his hand here. I think that's it. So take a little bit of time and do that. Alright, let's take red and do the hat. And the Santa Claus coat. Okay, hold on to that red. We're going to go back to it in a little bit. Let's do some of the chimney. I'm going to use this almost like a purpley brown color for the chimney bricks. You can use any color that you want for the chimney. And because this is Whoville, colors are never what they appear, so let's give the chimney a pinkish hue. Right. The Grinch has yellow eyes. We're going to rim them in red. Okay. That gives him a little bit more of an evil look. Now, just to like give it a little bit more dimension, you know, white is typically the color for a Santa Claus hat, you know, the trim. But if you put a little bit of blue on the edges, it just gives a little bit more dimension. Just on the edges. Okay, and we can use brown for the bag. And if we like to, again, just like we did with the trim, we could do the same thing with the Grinch, but giving him a little bit more dimension, adding on a darker green just on the edges. It accents the shadows and the lines and the fur. Little things that we can add. Again, just to give it a little bit more dimension, a little bit more, again, plasticity, if you remember that word. And although it is not necessary, if you would like to fill up the background, we can give it like a purpley blue. And it's not necessary, but it's a nice little addition. Darken the shadows on the folds of the fabric using the same color that I used before, the same brown color, but just pressing a little bit harder. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Grinch.